Glue Wednesday. You see, it's my belief that we don't have to get over. We need to find ways to keep it together. And my glue is G-L-U-E. God's love undoes everything, because that's what keeps it together. That life is about going from one puzzle to the next. You're either a small, medium, or large piece of each puzzle in your family, social, or business relationships. Yet, no matter what size puzzle piece you think you are, without you, the puzzle is labeled as incomplete. Hi, I'm Sporty King, and welcome to Glue Wednesday. And you know, I spell glue G-L-U-E. God's love undoes everything. And I do that because I know a lot of people decide that Wednesday is, the cliche for Wednesday is hump day. Well, to me, hump has the connotation of the need to get over. And I think that what we need to do is keep it together. And that's why I prefer to use the term glue. It still has to do with the week, because you've got the beginning of the week and the weekend, and you've got to glue them together. And Wednesday is the traditional middle of the 7-day week, regardless of where you decide to start it. Oh, didn't I just bring that up? Wednesday is not necessarily the middle of everybody's week. So how can we make it the day that we have to get over? How about let's keep it together every single day? Welcome to Glue Wednesday. This is Sporty King, and I know I said that already, but you know I like the sound of my name, and so I say it as frequently as possible. Are you remembering to be that proud of yourself? I know a lot of times we get caught up with, people telling us we need to be humble, but the truth is your humility has to be to God, not to mankind. Mankind is here for you to share with. So as you share who you are, sometimes you'll come across as being arrogant or whatever. I can't even think all of the terms that people use, whether use them on me or use them on someone else, because since I don't use them, I don't let them find a spot in my vocabulary where they get to rent and stay. But I do know the arrogant one, because that's the one I've heard the most. And anyone who decides that I'm arrogant, well, I'm saying, hey, cool. See ya. Because also a part of the word arrogant is also you hear arid, which means space, so that they can have that space and just blow right away. So anyway, but I got to tell you, my topic today on this broadcast is a continuation of last week's topic, which was stuff. S-T-U-F-F, situations that unleash our focus and faith. And the reason I want to do that, because stuff happens. Stuff happens throughout our lives. And last week, I talked about my book. It's called Stuff Happens, and there are 4 chapters with different situations or scenarios of situations that cause us to focus and have faith. Now, the focus is important for us, because focus is F-O-C-U-S. Finding ourselves creates unlimited success. Focus on you and let other people come into focus. And the faith, F-A-I-T-H, feeling as if there's hope. Recognizing that the only thing you cannot do is give up. So when these things, these situations happen in our lives, we have to get in touch with ourselves. And that's where the focus comes in. And we have to have faith. In fact, we find out just how strong our faith is. So last week I used the example of my mother's life, which was actually her death. And I used coaching, where I talked about coaching parents. This week, I'm going to talk about passion and change. Passion and change. And as I connect those two to the focus and faith, I want to say to you, I've been in my speaking business now 24 years, and this is my speaking passion. When I started my speaking business, I said I wanted to be the Muhammad Ali of motivational speaking. You know what I found out? He's the Sporty King of boxing. So what I ask you is, who's the you of your industry? Because we have to, again, have that focus and faith and belief in ourselves. You know, I heard a broadcast. I'm with the group, the Wake Up Call Network, radio and TV broadcasting network. And when we get together and we tape our shows, it's good to play off of one another, hear what each broadcaster is talking about. And you should watch all the shows. I make sure I link them on my site, whether it's on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, wherever I am. I try to make sure I link them as well, because there's such good food for thought from all of them. Yes. But the thing is that I totally forgot while I was telling you that. Now, I call that a brownout. You know, it's not a blackout, it's a brownout. You know, I'm in my 60s. Like, yep, you're right. I look good for my 60s. But you know what the truth is? A lot of times when people say, well, you know, you look good for 62, I act like they're not even talking to me. Because the thing is, what does good for 62 look like? You know, what I'm prone to say to them is, no, you're going to need to redefine 62. Because I'm 62 and I'm not giving one of my years back. Because if you think I look good for 62, are you saying I look bad for 42? So, you know, it's always about being word sensitive, which is what I am. And I have a ball with it. You know, on my site, I listed as, you know, that I'm an inspirational humorist. Doesn't mean that I walk around laughing and joking about everything. I'm not a comedian, but I just think that life is a wonderful thing. And if you can't find a reason to laugh, well, call me. I'll find a reason to help you laugh. I'll start out by sending you a personalized mirror that you can use, and it will have your laugh and smile right on there for you. But if you feel like you just took me off my topic, no, you didn't. Because we're going to be talking about passion. So what I'll do is first give you the introduction from my book of how I dealt with passion. You see, we tend to instantaneously say what our passion is. Yet sometimes we forget to acknowledge and thank ourselves for the sacrifice we systematically make toward fueling it. Thus, my passion is that I need glasses to read. Thus, we are susceptible to missing our calling by listening to the confusion and accepting the roadblocks that caution us to surrender. As my spirit was challenged to commit to my passion, I had to ride the ups and downs of business growth. One of the things several people told me to do when I started my speaking business was to identify my market. I chose not to follow that path, feeling that I have a message, not a market. Who didn't need to know about life, love, and laughter? As it turns out, I still believe that. However, the path to growth is slower. And see, that's the thing. When you're following your passion, you're going to get a lot of advice. People are going to have plenty of advice, and you should listen to some of it. But the other part about the world is that we hear the same messages over and over again. It's not until our messenger delivers it that we get it. So if you have the proper amount of focus on who you are, again, not worrying about people saying, oh, you're so selfish. No, I'm selfish. Once you have the right focus on yourself, now you can choose your messengers carefully, because you have to. You're going to follow someone, and you're going to hear it over. Have you ever had a situation, especially parents, let me ask you this. Have you ever had a situation where your kid did something after somebody else said it to them, and you said, I told you to do that 10, 15 times, and they told you once and then you did it? Yeah, because you weren't my messenger for that lesson. Don't feel bad about it, parents. You want your children to have the right messengers around them. So what you want to do is, oh, who got that message to them? Because now that person can become your resource. It takes a village to raise a child. Well, that could be one of your members of the village. Because they only give you the partial saying on that takes a village to raise a child. Because the other part of it is not everybody in the village should get a vote. So you have to make sure that you are checking who's in your village and who's in your child's village. So that when you need that resource, maybe they can't hear it from mommy. Maybe they can't hear it from daddy, but they can hear it from uncle. They can hear it from aunt. They can hear it from coach. You know, that's what you've got to do. If you've got your child's best interest at heart, can't you have that flashback and realize that there were times when you were that age where you just would have rather heard the message from someone else? Even though you know that you heard it from your parent, yeah, but I just want to hear it from somebody else. Because when my parent tells me it, then, you know, it makes me feel like I'm being like a child. Like I really don't have a choice. Well, this is what, because a lot of times our parents' reasoning was because I said so. Mm-hmm. And so no matter, even when they give us a good reason, we still got that caption over the top, because I said so. Mm-hmm. So if we can find a way as children, and I'm right now having that regression, I'm back to the child, where as a child, I'm saying to myself, I made a choice. That's empowering. And parents, that's going to help you. Stop trying to micromanage your children. Let them grow. These days are different. You know, oh, and how was your age? What the hell with how were you, what things were when you were their age?
They didn't have the options. Well, we had more imaginations. You had less options. You had to have an imagination. So, we don't stop to think about that, I mean, when we went outside to play, we had to come up with something because there was nothing in the park. Now they've got stuff in the park, and it's all not safe. So you got to figure out what not to play on. And you got to be careful of who to talk to, because the children are getting abducted by children that are their age that are working a scam with an older person. Stop and give yourself credit for being a good parent, because you are a wonderful parent. I don't care how many children you have. I don't care what age you are. If you have been gifted to bring a child into this world, you're a good parent. Because what you are doing is the best you can based on the information you have to make the decision. So if you keep getting more information, you'll keep guiding your child a little better. And then what you have to do is recognize that, there's only so far that you can guide them. At some point, you're going to have to let them go. There's no such thing, I believe, there's no such thing as saying, oh, this is a bad kid, it's just a bad kid, this is a good one. No, they're God's kids. And even, was it Abel and Cain? And Jacob and Esau, or Jacob and Isaiah, I think it was. Don't make me mess up the Bible, because I always say I don't quote from the Bible, I use the Bible. But the twins in the womb, where one was good technically and one was bad, Abel and Cain is definitely the ones that, but the first ones we meet in the Bible, okay? But that's the thing, is recognizing that technically, weren't both of them good? In fact, Ishmael and Isaiah, right? Because wasn't Ishmael and Jacob? Okay, I'm going to stop trying to guess. But one of them, as it turns out, one was the father of the Jews, and the other was the father of the, kind of like the Arabs. Yeah, and the thing is that he was, the second son was if I had came on to do this, I would be quoting some stuff to you. So let me go on and get back to what I'm talking about. But that's also the good thing about what I do. Recognize that when you're a speaker, a lot of times when we're speakers, we look out at the audience and we try to read people's face. Oh, that person's not paying attention. I need to change what I'm saying. Oh, that person seems to like where I'm going. No. Don't read your audience. Use your audience to feed you. See, if you deliver the right message, it's not your job to figure out their face, because part of your message is to take them on a journey. So when you say something that gives somebody a blank stare, don't now look at them and think they're not paying attention. You've just done your job and said something that took them somewhere else where they needed to go to do what I said earlier, to find their messenger. Because maybe you're not necessarily their messenger, but the scenario that you set up takes them to their messenger. So don't get carried away as a speaker and over reading your audience when you don't know the people. They're strangers. You've just become what? Judgmental. By deciding that because that person looked that way, this is what they're thinking. And now that shifts how you deliver your message, which does what? Loses your focus on who you are. See, it all comes back together. Focus on you and let other people come into focus. And so the stuff that I was saying to you earlier about the parenting part was what I covered last week as well. Because I covered, like I said, I covered my mother's final days and I covered parenting. We can still parent parents and we can parent adults. We touch children's lives by refreshing adults. So if we can keep finding ways to refresh adults, that's how we can touch children. And that's one of the things I like to do in my speaking business. I will never leave children out. I will always be an advocate for children. When I hear people say, oh, these damn kids of today, I say, are related to the damn kids of yesterday. Children mock and mirror adults. If you're the adult that they mock and mirror, you shouldn't have a problem with them. Let's stop telling them what they cannot do instead of giving them the faith to find out what they should be doing or what they would be doing, because sometimes should is bad. Because a lot of times, have you ever heard that term where you should on yourself? I should have done this and I should have done that. Don't should on yourself. Sometimes just recognize that you didn't do it, and maybe it wasn't time for you to do it. Comes right back to your faith. If your faith is where it is, you always recognize, because the Bible, it doesn't say God is good a lot. It said God is good all the time. So who are we to pick these spots that say, well, right now God is not good? We don't say that, but we'll say, well, I'm disappointed. What's the matter? I don't know why God is doing this to me. Isn't that the same as saying God's not good? Whatever you're going through in your life, again, I haven't lost my focus on stuff. Whatever situation you're going through in your life, it will force you, it will help you focus on who you are and test your faith. And it will challenge and test your faith. So as I was looking at my passion, I thought about 9 things that I can tell you that you can do to stay focused on your faith. Okay? Where are my 9 things? 1, every day, give thanks for waking up. See, my goal every day is to wake up tomorrow, so I reach 1 goal a day, minimum. And if you would make that your goal, you can always at least have a short-term goal that you can reach. 2, find time to tell yourself something new that you're good at or like about yourself. What's something that you like about yourself or that you're good at? Affirm who you are, the gift God has given you. 3, look in the mirror and give yourself a wink. You see, sometimes we are looking for other people to affirm us and lift us up. One of the things I tell people, technically, I'm an inspirational speaker, not a motivational speaker. See, motivation is internal. I can inspire you. When we hear the term a motivational speaker, we tend to think about this person with a lot of bubbly energy and stuff, whereas we say somebody who gets up there and says, okay, it's a tax season. If you would add line 13 to 14, skip 15, and 16 will be your return. And then you go add up line 13 and 14 and skip 15 and find out what your return is on 16. That person was a motivational speaker. Because motivation is internal. They have given you what you need because you choose your messengers. You have chosen what information and advice you're going to follow, what's going to motivate you to do what you need to do to get your success. So again, the English language is very important. That's why they say that the English language is one of the hardest to learn. But because we have words that sound the same, that look the same, that don't necessarily sound the same. And so it's important that we get a grasp on the English language. Listen to what people are saying. Listening is the #1 communication skill. Stop letting people run circles around you by talking. Because you got to pay attention to what they're really saying. I call it listen to the paragraph, not the sentence. Allow people to finish what they're saying before you judge the content of what they're saying. That's going to help you understand people better and understand what they expect of you. Because if they have false expectations of who you are and of what they want from you, then guess who's going to be the failure? You are. And they are going to try to make you look bad. Not the fact that they had false expectations. They're going to act like you should have been able to answer that. Well, I told them it, and he or she said that they'd be able to do it, and then you weren't. So slow down. I know we live in a fast world. I know, but technology, that's technology's job to do the speed. You just have to press the button like this, and then let it go as fast as it needs to go. So pace yourself, okay? Look in that mirror, give yourself a wink. 4, conquer every hardship by saying, I'm living proof that I'm alive. Because see, no matter what you go through, no matter what you thought you couldn't get through, and no matter what someone else told you wouldn't be able to get through, you're proof that it's doable. You're living proof, in fact, that that is something that you can overcome, and you did. 5, help someone feel good about themselves. And that should sound like a pretty cliche, but it's really not a hard thing to do. It's just saying to a child, I'm proud of you. Even if you send them a text, I'm proud of you. One of my great nephews, they had a post of him dribbling the basketball, and this kid is good. And so not only did I put on, this is my great nephew doing his thing, then I wrote, I'm proud of you. Guess what? He saw the tag, and then he responded as if the conversation, even though it was a post on Facebook and Instagram, he responded as if it was just between me and him. He said, thank you, Uncle Sporty, I love you. And see, that becomes the key. So help someone feel good about themselves. 6, and this really goes with it, laugh. especially at yourself. You know all of the jokes about yourself, so go on and laugh. I'm not going to spend time on it. 7, listen to a senior citizen. And listening to a senior citizen is going to make a difference. Now, senior citizens, don't think this gives you carte blanche to start running in your mouth. Because sometimes we got senior citizens who are stuck on stupid. And because they don't have to be senior citizens. I know earlier we were talking about, a pastor who didn't want to mentor. This was a male pastor who didn't want to mentor a female pastoral students. I don't think that he's the type of person that I want advice from. So, likewise, again, we're choosing our messengers carefully. So you choose messengers who are in alignment with what your beliefs are. The other person, even though that person, I don't say he's wrong, but that's his choice. And I choose not to go down that path. God has given each of us a different path. One thing I always say is that the Bible has no good stories. It has good endings. And each story has a pattern and a cycle that you have to follow. Challenge, faith, patience, testimony. So there's always somebody who's challenged. Then someone says, well, if you have faith, this is going to happen. And then if they have patience, they wait for that thing to happen, and then they get a testimony to talk about it. But you got plenty of good and bad people in the Bible, and all of them are there for you to decide, who am I like? Am I like Joseph? Am I like Esther? Who both of them, for such a time as this? Am I like Ruth, trusting that if I'm loyal to Naomi, things are going to turn out right? And in fact, I don't even care if they don't turn out right. I'm going to be I'm going to be trusting because that's who I am. And that's what you have to do. Remember I said somebody's going to decide that you're arrogant? Well, I guess Ruth was arrogant. But you know what? That's what you've got to recognize. Someone's going to tell you what you can't do. But you can do these 7 things. So when you're listening to a senior, pick the right senior. 8 and 9. 8, get some rest, and 9, forgive yourself. That's what we don't do enough of. So is it rocket science? No. Yet how many of them have you done lately? In no specific order. No, and there's no limit on the number of times of day either. You are here to enjoy life. Get your joy so that when it's time for you to ascend to your Heavenly Father, you can close your eyes with a genuine smile on your face that says, there's no place like home. And so that's what we have to recognize. I did a meme that I posted the other day, and it said, I don't look to be accepted, strive to remain exceptional. So again, you got to understand the English language, because accepted is A-C-C-E-P-T. Exceptional is E-X-C-E-P-T-I-O-N-A-L. And a lot of times we say, well, everything except this. No, everything except this. Oh, I bought you a gift. No, I brought you a gift. Bought means that you paid for it. Brought means that you traveled and brought and delivered it. So watch out when somebody's trying to make you think that they got you a nice gift. Oh, I bought you something. Yeah, they stole it and they brought it over there to you and make you feel all special. Think about it. Okay? But anyway, don't look to be accepted. Strive to remain exceptional. In other words, too often we question our attire, our manners, our vocabulary, our resume, our views, giving someone else the power to determine our next step instead of welcome our next move. True progress is made when you step away from the rule. And you don't always have to move forward. Sometimes stepping aside is another one of your best moves. I had a situation where I had to do that, where when I used to speak with seasoned citizens in Chicago, I call them seasoned citizens. That wasn't a slip up, because we're all seasoned with a little something different. Well, I'm speaking to my seasoned citizens at one of the centers, and they had a partition where on the other side we had some visually impaired senior citizens. And they heard us laughing and joking on the other side, so one of them came, oh, what's going on over here that we can't join? We tore the wall down. We opened the partition and had them join us. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to have them join us. And then it hit me as they were coming over to join. I said, wait a minute, they can't see. They weren't all blind. Some of them were just legally blind. And it made me realize that my gestures, because you see I use my hands a lot, they made me realize that my gestures meant nothing because they couldn't see. So what I had to do was take my game up a notch and do a better job of having the right tone in my voice, making sure that I painted the verbal pictures and made sure that I paced my speaking so that they can get it too. And so as I started to do that, I would say, okay, am I doing it? I'm thinking I'm doing it. And then I heard one of the visually impaired people say, amen. And then, they start saying, I see what you mean. And then I started growing and just getting more confident and feeling good about what I was doing. Remember I said one of those things, make somebody feel good? I made them feel good. And remember I said to you, it's not about reading your audience, it's feeding from them. They made me feel good. And then I got to a point in my speech, in my session, where I wanted them to participate without even thinking about it. I just walked around and put my hand on each person's shoulder when it was their turn to say something that they liked about themselves or something they were good at. You will adjust to make things right. That becomes a part of the stuff that's happening with your life. Wow. So when you have that confidence and faith in yourself, and I've got endless confidence and faith in myself, and you know what? People like that. I've got more people that like that than people who don't like it. And I've got some closet haters. My favorite haters, by the way, are closet haters. Because I always say, talk about me behind my back, because I can't take it if you talk about me to my face. Okay? Because that's the whole thing. And I laugh and joke about that. Because you know what? Your bad impression of me is none of my business. There's nothing I can do with it. I would rather know as soon as possible, because maybe I was thinking about having a relationship with you, some kind of a friendship relationship. Now that I know that you don't like me, I can spend more time with somebody else who does. And the thing is, a lot of times we'll say, yeah, I agree with that, and then we still go on and let somebody else abuse us. I don't. I don't. And it's not because I'm in my 60s. I've been doing this since I was in my 30s. Cutting people loose is not a problem. And on another broadcast, I'll teach you how to put them on pause, because maybe you're not good at cutting them loose. So maybe next week I'll talk about putting them on pause, because what you have to do is minimize somebody's access in your life and to your spirit. When they know they have 24/7 of you, then they take advantage. They're not always bad people, P.S., by the way. Sometimes it's just a matter of they're in that habit because you keep allowing it. You are in charge of your life. You have to live on offense. You have to choose your messengers carefully. Amen. And when it's over, what do they say? Well done, my friend. When you, like they said, when you go to the pearly gates, Peter ain't gonna say, let's talk about your parents. He was, Sporty, I see that you, okay, so that's the way you want to look at it, all right? Let me zip through here and get through chapter 4, which is about change, because that was just passion. So whenever you're passionate about, make the commitment. In fact, I used to have a sign that said, passion does not punch a clock. And that's what you have to recognize, that when you choose to be passionate about something, there's nothing that can stop you. But there'll be plenty of people who will try to deter you. Not necessarily bad people, but some people who are afraid for themselves, so therefore they're afraid for you. Best intentions, but they are used to safety. And especially as an entrepreneur, you're not really doing safety. You're trying to be the exception to the rule, okay? So chapter 4 is about change. And challenge, is just change with 3 letters in the middle, LLE. Life's learning experiences. We think we're not good at change. We think we don't like change because we've heard that cliche. Oh, well, older people don't like change. You love change. You just have to see it as challenge sometimes. And don't think of change as this huge thing. It's a very small thing. In the book, I talk about how I changed moving from Chicago to Charlotte 7 years ago. But the truth is, I also have to be, I told myself to read that point. I'm not going to read it all to you because I want to spend a lot of time in it. Okay, but here's the main thing. A lot of people didn't believe me when I told them I was moving. And they said, well, why are you moving? My answer was, because I want to. Still, some would challenge that there had to be another reason. I would confess, because I can. Those 2 reasons are part of the makeup in my decision-making and goal-setting process. And any final moves I make must satisfy 2 of 3 considerations. 1, because I want to. 2, because I can. Or 3, because it's time. And it's actually very hard to satisfy 2 of the 3 without satisfying the 3rd. Yet these 3 tenets free me from needing to explain my self-care. Do you know how to get where you're going this year? Month, week, day, minute. I actually chose Charlotte in 1985 when I was working at the Wall Street Journal. I was an ad sales rep, and North Carolina was part of my territory. I stood on the corner and I looked. I said, "I like it here. I think I'll move here one day." And I started moving there from 1985. When I moved in 2010, people said, "Well, it took you 25 years." I say, "No, I used 25 years." And so as I continue in the book, I say, someone will think your moves and your actions are random or irrational. You must not be someone. Relax into the enjoyment of knowing yourself. Look at the track record of your successes more than you do your shortcomings. Wow. And so as we look at how we deal with change, that's what we have to recognize and remember. So a quick recap. There will always be situations that unleash your focus and faith. And that's the best news that you can hear. Connect to and follow your passion, knowing that the plan will change and challenge you until you realize it's not your plan. You're on the implementation crew. It's where you fit into God's plan. And there's nothing wrong with that, see. In His plan, your life is best lived through the Bibles. No good stories, all good endings, based on the cycle of challenge, faith, patience, testimony. Remember, life is about going from one puzzle to the next. You're either a small, medium, or large piece of the puzzle in your family, social, or business relationships. Yet, no matter what size piece of the puzzle you see yourself as, without you, that puzzle is seen as incomplete. I'm Sporty King. This is Glue Wednesday, and I will always help you keep it together. Ciao, and I'll see you next week.